You're listening to the Inside Syracuse Basketball podcast presented by Crouse Health, the exclusive healthcare partner of Syracuse Athletics.
Welcome back to another edition of the Inside Syracuse Basketball podcast, and today I've got a really cool guest for you. It's former Syracuse basketball player Tyus Battle. Tyus, welcome to the podcast, and you're looking good.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I got the new cut. I had to change some things up. It's a new start for me.
A new start. Okay. Well, we can get into some of that. Just to refresh everyone's memory, you were here at Syracuse for 3 seasons?
Yes.
Yeah, you left after the 2019 season. I don't even know if people really remember this. I was actually kind of like, wow, I knew he was really, he scored a bunch when he was here, but in 3 seasons, you scored 1,647 points.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to think about sometimes. Honestly, I didn't even realize until once I left, but it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Now, another season in Orange, and you would have had a legit shot at Lawrence Moten's scoring record.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been tough to get, especially I think that year is when COVID happened. So I think I would have been a little short.
Well, yeah, you're right about that. I kind of forgot that next season would have been, well, but it didn't get short until the tournament. So
Yeah, to the tournament. So maybe. Would have been interesting.
I was wondering, I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but since we're on the topic, in today's world of NIL and everything, do you think you would have been more inclined to stay at Syracuse for that 4th year?
I would say most likely. With NIL, it's just an interesting thing because I know it's hard for fans to understand, but it's a business now. It's like fully a business. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of athletes, they don't have the opportunity to play multiple years, make a ton of money with the sport. So you have to use your name, your likeness, and capitalize on that while you have it at its peak. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure. I would have most likely stayed just because I love Syracuse so much. I love the fans. I love the orange, and you know. But it's a business now. It's crazy.
So you did leave after your junior year, 2019, and you weren't taken in that year's draft. Was that a shock to you?
It wasn't really a shock to me. For me, I got injured a couple times throughout the draft process. I actually had to cut my workout short because I was dealing with like a foot injury. And in a lot of ways, when I think back on it, I could have been better in certain areas throughout my draft process, but hindsight's always 2020. So, but I just learned from those lessons and just try to improve on my basketball career from here on out.
And your basketball career has taken you to places like Israel,
Yeah,
Russia, Italy,
yeah,
China.
yeah.
Tell me, what experiences of those places stand out?
I mean, each country is just so unique. Every team I've been on is just so unique. But I've loved every place I've been to. I mean, my first place was Russia. I was in Siberia. My parents were very nervous for me going over there because it was my first time, outside the country, first off. And then for it to be Russia is a whole nother aspect of it. But honestly, I loved my time there. I loved the people. The community opened me had open arms, so they accepted me to their community, and I had a great time there. Italy was great. I had a great time in Israel. So I mean, I know here in the United States we see certain things about different countries, and we develop some type of like thought process before visiting, but you really have to visit these countries to get a full understanding of how they live and their culture, and you develop an appreciation for it.
Yeah, I've talked to you in the past about a couple of those stops. I know the Russia, the Siberian one, that's when COVID hit.
Yeah.
I mean, of all places to be when COVID hit, strikes the entire globe, you're there in Siberia. That had to be really hard.
Oh, it was extremely difficult. I mean, and it was a moment in my life where I really had to grow up, because I mean, it's crazy. I think I told you the story, but when I first got to Russia, we played our first two games, and then after the second game, we got a notification on our phone saying that someone on the opposite team had COVID. So then we started getting sick. And at that time, the protocol in Russia was you had to be inside the house for 2 weeks without contact with other people. And then you have to get tested two more times to leave the house. So it's pretty much a 3 week type of deal. So I'm in Russia. I'm only a month in. I didn't know anyone. I couldn't speak the language. They had a little DoorDash service. I'm trying to like Google Translate what to tell the guy. He's speaking Russian. I'm speaking English. It was just a lot of mess. But I got through it. And once things kind of COVID started calming down a little bit in Russia, I mean, I loved it there.
DoorDash Russian style had to be really interesting. I
Oh, it
mean,
was difficult. It was
what do
difficult.
you order?
I keep it very simple. I ordered chicken because I know how to say chicken. Chicken and rice, chicken and vegetables, stuff like that. But trying to explain to the guy where my apartment was, I didn't really know my Russian numbers well, all that stuff. It was a lot of, it was a struggle.
And then we've spoken about your experience in Israel. You were in a coastal town, right? Like
Yeah.
right on the ocean.
Yeah, I was in the kibbutz. Yeah. Yeah. No, it was so I wasn't in a coastal town. I was in like near Afula, which is close to Nazareth.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
mm, so it's more of in the country. But if you drive 30 minutes, you're in Haifa, which is a coastal town. And I drive an hour, I'm in Tel Aviv, which is, it's pretty nice. So I mean, during my time in Israel, I drove everywhere. Anytime, any free chance I got, I drove, I wanted to, because it's a small country, it's the size of New Jersey.
Mm.
So I drove everywhere just to, when I'm in these countries, I want to develop my own experiences because, as a player, you're so surrounded by basketball. You have two practices a day and stuff like that, that sometimes you need that release and you need to like travel, meet people, and experience the culture.
Wow. Now, in addition to bouncing around different countries every season, and that's pretty much the way it goes for guys playing overseas, you've had to deal with injuries along the way.
Mm.
And some setbacks. What's been like the injury that set you back the most over the course of the last 4 or 5 years?
Well, it's been honestly, it's been tough. It's been tough. I mean, so after Israel, right before playoffs, I broke my foot. Um, Initially, they told me it was just a stress fracture, but I played actually a game on it, a game or two games, I think, 2 games on it. And it was feeling terrible. So I told the team, I'm sitting out, I'm not playing anymore. So I stayed a whole extra month in Israel. When I got home, my surgeons told me that I needed surgery on it. It was a Jones fracture. So they had to put a plate in my foot. It was a 3 month rehab. After the third, fourth, fifth month, it wasn't getting any better. So I went back to my surgeon. He was like, "Oh, we might have to take the plate out." So I had to do another surgery to take the plate out, which is another 3 months. And then, so it was almost until I was able to play again, it was almost 10 months. So I played again. I ended up going in France. It was towards the end of the season, and I just wanted to get a little tune up because I haven't played in so long. I played about 6 games there. Then I went to China after that season. Um, China, I was playing really well, but then I started developing knee pain. And at first, I thought it was just tendonitis. So I would warm up, athletes that do with tendonitis all the time. I would warm up, I would have the pain. As I started playing, it would go away. But what a lot of people don't know, so I was in the NBL, which is a 3 month, 4 month season, but we play like 35 games. So it's a lot of games. And it's no real break. So towards the midway of the season, it got to the point where I was struggling to walk. I was taking heavy medication just to get through the games. I got 2 or 3 MRIs while in China. They're just telling me it's a bone bruise, it's a bone bruise, nothing else than that. Uh, so I tell them, okay, I'm not playing anymore. They're trying to convince me any way possible to play. I sit out the rest of that season. I come back to the United States and they end up telling me I have to probably get surgery on it because it hasn't healed, but they think it's a bone bruise. Um, so I wait 3 months, 6 months, it still hasn't healed. And then recently I got another surgery, which is probably the fifth surgery on my knee. And they told me I have cartilage damage in my knee and it's
Oh,
expanded. Yeah. So now it was like a 22 millimeter tear in my knee. So I ended up getting surgery on that. So I'm out 6 months right now. So 6 months until full recovery.
It's interesting hearing this, and it really drives home something that I've always thought about the basketball players having to go overseas is like if you're here in the States and you're at either a college or with an NBA team, wherever, usually here in the States, the team wants to protect you. You're an investment to them. You're valuable because they plan on you being there more than a year or two, right?
Yeah.
You go overseas and it seems like you really have to advocate for yourself.
Mm.
Am I right about that? Do the international teams sometimes want to push players to play because you're on such a short-term deal?
Well, yeah, I would say it's definitely more prevalent in international basketball, just because it is, like you said, it's a short-term deal. But I mean, I've seen it a ton of times in college. And a lot of times it could just be a misdiagnosis. Like when I got my initial surgery for my knee, they thought it was just a bone bruise, but a couple months later, they said the cartilage tear was so small when they initially did the surgery. So I got the MRI and I got a scope. So they go inside my knee and scope out to make sure I don't have cartilage damage. They didn't see cartilage damage at all, but
Wow.
I guess it was so small that over time it was always there, but over time as I did my rehab process, just grew because I never got it, taken care of. So I think in a sense it could be a little bit of both because a lot of times I see college guys, I mean, teams will try to push them to play when they're hurt, and it happens a lot, unfortunately. It's just sports in general.
So when you're dealing with these injuries, you're back home and like you get your surgeries or whatever, you've had to have it, do this routine a couple times, it sounds
Yeah.
like.
Mm.
So are you rehabbing and training by yourself through this process, or how does that work? Because um, I
Uh,
don't know how like, just even like the like simple things like everyday life stuff like insurance,
yeah.
and stuff like that. I mean, who takes care of you?
Yeah, I take care of myself. I mean, I'm 26 now, so I'm paying my own insurance. Um, and I do actually do rehab in Manhattan. So I did the surgery at HSS in New York and Manhattan. I live in Edison, so it's about a hour drive, no traffic, 40, 45 to an hour. So I go there twice a week to get my rehab done. I got my surgery done out there. Um, because if people know about HSS, they're the best surgeons in the world. I mean, especially in the United States. Um, and for my basketball career, I just want to go to the best. Even though it costs a lot of money, I just want to make sure, for my health and especially for a knee surgery, I want the best treatment. So that's why I make the commute out there to hopefully this thing rehabs 100%.
So where do things stand now? In terms of like, how much longer do you think you'll need before you're back on the court and hopefully playing somewhere next season?
Well, I had the surgery about 5, 6 weeks ago.
Mm.
So I have another 5 months to go. So hopefully I'll be ready I mean, for me, my timetable, I want to be back on the court by January, December-ish. Because I mean, once I'm able to move again, I want to have that month or two to, work on my basketball game a little bit. I haven't played it so long. So, it's not, I already know it's not going to be easy. I mean, recovering from the first surgery wasn't easy. And now this one on top of it's going to be rough, but as an athlete, that's what you sign up for sometimes. I mean, sometimes injuries happen. Your body's not always going to feel 100%, but it is what it is.
Do you have a trainer to work you through the rehab process that's ahead of you?
Yeah, at HSS. Yeah, he's just a physical therapist right now. I mean, I can't really at this point. I just started getting able to lift my leg again. So because once you have those surgeries, especially in your knee and the cartilage, your whole leg just shuts off. So I just started being able to move my leg. I'm walking a little bit off on one crutch right now. So I'm seeing improvement. And with rehabs, you just want to see improvement, even if it's a small little thing. You just want to go trend the right direction. That's all.
That's a lot
Yeah,
for a 26-year-old.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but you see a lot of players go through it. Like you had Lonzo Ball. He just had a knee surgery. They said he was missing his complete cartilage and meniscus. So and he was out for 2 years. So it's not easy. But like I said, I mean, it's what happens with us athletes, and that's why I'm so for NIL, just because, I mean, you have to capitalize, like I said, you have to capitalize on when you're healthy, when you're playing well. And just because you're an athlete, you shouldn't be behind the eight ball on making money, especially when you're good at doing something, you know. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, always have been in favor of athletes, college athletes, uh, getting whatever they're worth,
yeah,
and certainly, we're trending in that direction now. You have a kid brother that
yes,
is in college, that he is right in the thick of all this NIL.
yeah.
Khalif is now, and is going to be in his fifth year. He's getting that extra year because of the COVID season, right?
Mhm.
And he's going to be at his fourth school in 5 years. He's going to Gonzaga.
Sixth year. This is about to be his sixth year.
Oh, because he sat out one too.
That
Did
year, he said he broke his foot. He broke his foot, and then because of COVID, he has the extra year. So 6 years.
um where's he he's standing in all this? A fourth school. Having to. Yeah, I don't think people understand. I don't think it's easy for guys to transfer.
Oh,
I
it's not.
think it's a very difficult decision. He's had to do it now 3 times.
Yeah, yeah. It's a difficult decision, but I mean, after the Arkansas situation, I mean, Eric Musselman ended up leaving to go to USC, so pretty much the whole school transferred. The whole staff, everyone transferred. So it put him in a tough situation because I mean, he finished off that season so strong. His
Mhm.
last 10 games, he was averaging 28 to 30 points a game. He had amazing games against Kentucky, Vanderbilt, um, in a very good SEC conference. So it was a tough situation for him, but I do think it built a lot of character for him as well because it wasn't an easy season for him. Eric Musselman is not a easy coach to deal with, you know. So it just helped him build. He grew as a player and as a young man. So I was happy to see his how he finished up at Arkansas.
All your travels internationally um, have you well versed in the art of diplomacy, uh, in terms of how you just described Coach Musselman.
Yeah, 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 definitely. You know, yeah, you have to use the right words. You have to use the
That was
right
very diplomatic there. That was very
words.
good. But so yeah, so now to recap for your kid brother there, Butler, Temple, Arkansas, and now Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Gonzaga, Mark Few, what a program. He must be excited.
I mean, this is looking like a pretty good Gonzaga team. I mean, I think they pretty much brought back their whole team. They added a kid, I forget his name. He's from Pepperdine. He actually was in the combine, so he's a very good player. My little brother is a very good player, and they added a kid from, I think he played for Real Madrid. He's at 17, 18 years old, added him as well. So they should have a really good team. And I think Caleb brings an aspect to the game that they didn't have last year, which is a guy who can just come out on the floor and get you a bucket. And I think they struggled a little bit last year just on isolation buckets. And for you to win a national championship, you always need a player like that. You always need a player where you can say, okay, it's crunch time. We're playing against a very good defensive team. We're gonna have you get the ball and hopefully score for us. And I think that's what my brother brings to the table.
That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Well, we'll have now a special reason to watch Gonzaga this coming year.
Yeah.
Another one of your siblings, though, Syracuse fans might be even more interested in this one.
Mhm.
Your little sister Gigi.
Yeah.
Now, if my years are right, and the time does fly, but is she entering her junior year in the fall?
Junior year. Yep.
Junior year of high school.
Yep.
Now, 2 years ago, she received a scholarship offer from Syracuse and Felicia Leggett-Jack.
Yeah. Yeah.
So bring me up to speed on Gigi, and then we'll get into her recruiting as well.
I mean, Gigi's a hard worker, and honestly, I give her a lot of credit because it's not always easy being around, my dad, myself, and my little brother. Growing up, I just had to deal with my dad, but now she has to deal with all three of us. It's not the easiest, but I mean, she absorbs like everything we try to teach her, and she's gotten a lot better over the years. I mean, and she does things that I never did or my little brother ever did. I mean, I would say we're more of offensive minded,
Hmm.
but she she just plays so hard. I mean, she goes for after every rebound, every steal, every loose ball, and most players don't do that. That's like a skill. That's like it's very hard to develop that, and some players have it, some players don't, and she has that. So I think for any college out there, she brings something to the table that's hard to find, which is just heart and hustle.
Now, is there still interest in Syracuse?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, she loves Coach Jack. She loves Syracuse, and obviously, I'm always telling her great things about the university. I think going into her junior year, sometime throughout the junior year, she's going to take her officials. Um, and I don't like to, even though I love Syracuse, I love the university, and the women's basketball program has been doing great. We had a great year. It's her decision. So, I'll sometimes throw some things out there about Syracuse, but at the end of the day, it's her decision. And whatever makes her happy, I'm happy.
Sure. That sounds, yeah. How tall is she now?
She's 5'11", 5'11". Yeah, so she has good height. She's
I
really been working on her offensive skills. I mean, my little brother and I have been working on her with that for this whole summer. So going into her junior year, it's gonna be a big year for her. She plays for a very good Rutgers prep team. They're always top three in the state of New Jersey. They play a national schedule, so it should be an exciting year for her.
cool. Want to ask you one other thing. Obviously, this year, you were not going to be able to play for Behemoth's Army with your knee situation, and there is no Behemoth's Army this year.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
had trouble getting enough guys to come play.
yeah.
Um, if healthy in a year from now, would you like to play with Behemoth's Army? I mean, do you think there's a chance that we'll see the Army again in a year's time?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Sean Belvey, he was my roommate at Syracuse, so he asked me every single year. It's just I haven't been able to play. I was gonna play last year, but I ended up signing to China, a team in China. But if I'm healthy and I have nothing going on, like no not playing during the summertime or anything else like that, I would definitely play. And I told him multiple times. And it would just be good just to go back to Syracuse, wear the orange and just represent the team. It's unfortunate we don't have a team this year because I know it's hard. And in a lot of these leagues, these summer leagues are growing. The China League is growing during the summertime. The league in Puerto Rico is growing, and they're paying a lot of money. So it's hard for guys to turn that down. So, I mean, hopefully we can get enough guys next year to hopefully make another run for a TBT championship.
Who would you like to see on Behemoth's Army that maybe we haven't seen?
Um, Trying to think. I think definitely Elijah,
Okay.
having back. Um, And just any guy who's just willing to play, just wanna just come back and play. I think that's the biggest thing to win these tournaments, especially it's a single elimination tournament. You got to have guys who really want to play and really want to win. And I think that's the problem where I'm not saying Bam's Army has that problem, but other teams have that problem. So anyone who just wants to come back, play, represent the university in a positive way, I think that would be good.
Before we let you go here, I wanted to ask you one other question. As we mentioned at the beginning, when you left Syracuse, you entered the draft. You weren't drafted.
Mm,
And as we record this, it's the day after this year's NBA draft.
yeah.
And Judah Mintz had entered the draft
Mm,
after 2 years at Syracuse, and he wasn't drafted.
mm,
Um, given your experience, the experiences of your former teammate OShea Brassette,
mm.
um, you know, what do you think is ahead for Judah? And do you think what would be your advice to him be?
I mean, it's a grind. You just have to put your head down and just work. I mean, you can't listen to the outside noise. Unfortunately, the NBA is a business as well. So you have to get lucky a lot of times. You have to hopefully get on the right team. They have to give you the right opportunities to show your game. Um, but at the end of the day, you just want to enjoy playing the sport, playing the sport that you grew up loving and maybe getting obsessed with what a lot of players do. So if you don't have that love in a certain situation you're in, you have to find a place where you can develop that love again. Because it doesn't matter. I mean, you see with players now, they can make a ton of money at NIL, whatever it is. If you go on a team, you're not playing your position, you're not going to be happy. I mean, so it is what it is. I mean, OShea, I mean, he worked so hard to get to the point where he's at now. He went undrafted. He was in the G League. He was on a team back to the G League, and now he's an NBA champion. So, and O'Shea's always been a worker. He's always kept his head down, always stayed focused, and when things happen, if you do that, great things can happen. So.
Well, I think you also just described yourself. I've always known you to be an incredibly hard worker. You've always kept your head down. You've kept the noise and the distractions, to a limit there. And, I feel really bad for you for some of the injuries that you've been having to fight through. And I hope you're able to fight through this one and get back on the court sometime around maybe New Year's.
Yes, appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here, Tyus. It's always a pleasure to talking to you.
Yes, same here.
All right.
Join us next time for the Inside Syracuse Basketball podcast presented by Crouse Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics.